Paul, I'm going to go through my slide deck just to kind of see it. It's going to be a rough narration, but I want to give you a sense of how I've positioned these slides and get some feedback from you. So the introduction, and I would begin. So let me take you back in 1972. Who remembers the best film? Which one of these three won the award? The Godfather, French Connection, Fiddler on the Roof? The answer? Anybody? The French Connection. What was the best car in America in 1972? Of course, it has to be the Porsche, or the Volkswagen Beetle, or the Ford truck. The answer? The Volkswagen. What about music of the 1972 era? Some of these classical hits: Alone Again, Naturally, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, Nights in White Satin. I remember sitting down in the basement and singing these songs. But I also remember 1972 for another reason. It was the year I took my first drink. And I remember being in my parents' basement, and the typical, orange gaudy furniture, pool table, and my parents' bar stocked with liquor. So it seemed naturally on that day that my brother, back it up, Paul. So you would picture me in the basement, and this is what I look like. Typical big hair of the 1972. So it seemed naturally on that day that my brother would take a bottle of brandy and hand it to me and say, "Take a drink. It's good." So I took a big swig of that. Of course, I gagged immediately, but I remember the feeling, the burning feeling as the alcohol washed down my esophagus and my stomach. And for the first time since I can remember, I felt a sense of calm. You see, I struggled at that age. I wasn't very confident. And you can see this is a picture of me about that age too. I suffered from some childhood depression, but alcohol really changed that for me. And going forward, it became one of my better friends. So after following that day, 1972, I began to drink more often. And one of the things I struggled with during that era was confidence. You probably remember the story in the Christmas Story, Ralphie getting chased around by the bullies. Oftentimes that was me being chased home from school. I was kind of nerdy kid. I was kind of awkward. I had a big nose, and the kids oftentimes would call me Pinocchio, and they would throw me around, and they would whip me around a bit. So going forward, it seemed perfectly natural for me to start using alcohol. So by age 14, I was drinking a couple times a week, mixing with marijuana. By age 15, this is my 15th birthday, I began to take more and more risks. So that was the day that I went into a bar for the first time. In my neighborhood there was a bar called by the name of the 10th Inning. It's kind of in a seedy area of the city. And when I turned 15, I walked into this bar. I got my dad's leather coat on. Here I was with my mullet, kind of tried to make my voice a little bit deeper. I walked in and I said, "Hey, how are you?" And I said, "Can I have a drink? How about those Packers, huh?" And that night, I sat there and I drank all night with a bunch of older dudes. And they made me feel pretty relaxed. Felt pretty much at ease. So following that, things took a bit of a darker turn. I left high school after about the middle part of my sophomore year of high school. I kind of drifted from menial job to menial job. And by age 17, my parents signed me into the U.S. Navy. And in my life over the next 30 years, I enjoyed a combination of good success and some dark areas. And I continue to drink and continue to take more and more risks. So today's story, or today's presentation is about 3 key lessons I learned during my life, and specifically about my experiences.